Hi, how's it going? This is a resident of Collinwood, and now that I got my coughing spell out of the way, I hope, I'm here to do a revisited tour of the 2004 unaired Dark Shadows pilot. You know, unaired just means just that. It was unaired on television. Therefore, this is not canon. Now, is that the most frustrating part? It's one of them. I think the other, for me, when I do this video, and I've done the Dark Shadows unaired pilot before on my channel, is that you're going off of what was, one potential episode. And I've watched this episode countless times. I've lost count even how many times I've watched it. That I've watched it so many times, I find it interesting in many ways. And here's the ways I find it interesting. You know, yes, this starts off with Victoria Winters on a train, but it's a blonde haired Victoria Winters, which I found curious. We had seen Vicky as a brunette in the 66 series, we had seen Vicky as a brunette in the revival. Hell, you even saw Vicky as a brunette in the 2012 movie. So, this would have been prior to, this was '04, so this was well prior to the movie. Again, it's not canon, it's not an actual episode, but I'm looking at this not as a what if, but I'm just taking a deep look at what would have been an episode. And again, it's one episode, so this has been always hard to gauge for me because I'm only basing a lot of my opinion off of one episode. Now, the things that happen in this, what would have been an episode, are interesting to me. And here's why. Victoria Winters, now she did a voiceover in the original, she did a voiceover in the 1990, the 90s revival series. Hold on. And she has a voiceover here. And there is a tad difference in tone to me with these. Her tone, she has a file, and that's something we haven't really seen Victoria. We didn't see Victoria have in the original. She had a file, and it's a J. Hoffman, and it means Dr. Julia Hoffman. Now, I think that's what I find most interesting right away. So she received the file from the boy's psychiatrist / doctor, that this boy, this boy was receiving some sort of treatment from a doctor that outside help, a governess, or what some might call a TSS, if you're familiar with that term. And what a TSS is, basically, it's like a governess in many ways. The only difference is a TSS can't live with you because it's bound by law, and it's patient confidentiality. There's patient confidentiality rules, etc., etc., etc. But again, she's a governess, so they're basically taking those rules and throwing them somewhat out the window. That yes, she is going to be living with the Collins family. She is going to be tutoring David. I'm trying to do this video and not get sick at the same time because again, I'm not feeling well. So, and that's something I found interesting with this '04 unaired pilot. She had this file. It's a J. Hoffman, meaning Dr. Julia Hoffman, and it was talking about David. It's something in there about David, that his mother had left, under mysterious circumstances, and they just don't talk about it or they lie about it. And that's something Elizabeth Collins Stoddard basically tells Vicky sometimes it's better to live a lie, which I found interesting. Even though I was familiar with the original series or familiar with the revival, for that to be flat out come out and said that it's better to live a lie, that's what I thought. Like, whoa, this is even a different Elizabeth in many ways, and to me it was. Now she is riding in this train, and what you learn is she was dreaming. Well, I'll get to the. She sees these kids run past her, and it's October 31st, so these kids are dressed up for Halloween, and next thing you know, you hear, help me, and it's a boy who's dressed like the devil, and he's like on the outside of the car, the train car, and you're not sure how exactly the hell he got there. She gets up from her seat, and by the time she gets there, she sees like a full-grown zombie-looking man, and she wakes up. So she was dreaming this, which I found really curious. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Might have to pause this video, but we'll see. Let's see if I can make it through this whole thing. So she gets to Collinsport, Maine, and it's basically the same. Some of it has a lot of the same synopsis of the series, the original series. That Victoria Winters arrives in Collinsport. That's where that is the same. Now here's what's different. There's no Burke Devlin. She is sort of looking around. The town looks like a ghost town at night because, everyone's in bed at this hour. And she's very suspicious after this dream. I mean, at first glance, she's sort of like a little bit paranoid. And I wouldn't blame her, I guess, after this dream. I'd probably be the dream she had, I'd probably be a little paranoid too. So, and this is where she meets Willie Loomis. And, she says, "You work for the Collins family?" He's like, I work for the Collins family. And he said, Collinwood. And she's like, what? She goes, everything around here has like a big name, like, Xanadu. Like Xanadu. Which, again, William Loomis is a lot different in this series than I've seen him before. In what would have been this episode. He is very young and handsome. There's that. Which again, John Carlin was young and handsome, and the guy who John replaced was young and handsome. When I look at this and I see Willie Loomis, again, he's also very charming, which I like. So Willie Loomis in this is not a thief, he's not a con man, he's just somebody who works for the Collins family. Seemingly, And lo and behold, Willie Loomis actually has a girlfriend. A very hot girlfriend, too. And after dropping Victoria Winters off at the Collinwood estate, he's talking to his girlfriend. Now, it turns out his girlfriend works for a Professor Elliot Stokes, or Professor Stokes. Now, I found that very interesting. Because keep in mind, Professor Stokes was not introduced till 1967. He's not introduced for a while. He's not introduced till after the 1795 arc. I think I got the wrong thing to drink here. But, so that's another thing I found interesting with this. You have a character in Stokes who wasn't introduced at the beginning episodes, who wasn't introduced at the very beginning, or even when, right away when Barnabas was released. He wasn't introduced until after the 1795 arc. And Willie and his girlfriend are reading about the Collins, the Collins family mausoleum, the Eagle Hill Cemetery, and you know where this is going. This is going to, right to release Barnabas. Sorry about that. But, so again, Willie and his girlfriend are going to go to the Eagle Hill Cemetery. Now, meanwhile, as that's going on, Victoria, by this time, is introduced to Roger. Now, here's the twist in this. Roger is the one who has the money in all this. He's sort of the self-made man in all this. But he's very much an ass. Now Roger in the original was an ass in many ways, but especially in this, I'd say even with the one episode, he is being an ass. Now, and you can even question, just like you could have questioned Lewis Edmonds' character, does he really love his son? Or another way to look at this too, when you watch the 04 unaired pilot, is he scared to find out what's wrong with his son, or is he just scared to find out that there is something wrong with his son? There is that too. There's a lot of character elements here in this one episode, which is amazing. Again, I've been talking about how this is an unaired pilot, so, to try to break this down, again, one episode only, it's unaired, it's not canon, so I'm really just, when I looked at this and kept looking at it, I found a lot of interesting things with this and especially with Roger now Roger in this, again, like I said, he's the money, not Elizabeth. Now Elizabeth is his sister, and I think she has a share interest in the Collins money, and there's a part of her that does, because again, it's not like he's throwing her out, or maybe he just does care about his sister that much, which I'm not sure if I believe. So maybe she's some sort of partner somehow. That doesn't really get explained too much, other than, we know that Elizabeth is the staple in the original series, but in this, to me, it's more Roger. Roger is your billionaire. He has control of the money. He runs the businesses in this 04 unaired pilot. You notice I'm stressing all this. Give me a second, I'm sorry. So, she meets all them. She meets David. Now, here's what I find interesting with Vicky and David. David tries to scare Victoria by, holding his breath underwater and jumping up from the tub, scaring her, looking like he was drowning himself, which I found creepy and edgy. Now, in the original series, we know David tried to kill his dad by removing the bleeder valve. Now, nothing that severe happens here with that, but he does look like he's trying to kill himself. No, he doesn't, because he's just trying to scare Victoria. But again, something that I gotta bring attention to is that file. It says Dr. J. Hoffman. Victoria explains to David, hey, I read what you did to your last governess. I'm not going to be scared off. Now, he says, are you going to tell my dad? And she goes, that one's on the house. But the next one will have consequences, which I like, because she's not scared to be there. But here's the thing, she was just scared in town. So there's a bit of a mix with Victoria in this one episode, that there are things she's scared of, just not David. So, and it seems like there seems to be a constant theme with this one episode. Everyone's scared of themselves and the unknown about themselves, about what they don't know about their lives. And that sort of seems to be an underlying theme in this episode. Vicky is scared that she doesn't know about her past. She may not even... I think there's a bit of a tone where Vicky is wondering, do I even exist other than on paper? Rogers is, why is my son not normal? Am I not normal? And David, I think David is scared of that fact too. So why is he not normal? And then there's Elizabeth, who just lies about it all. They tell him a lie. She says, sometimes it's better to live with a lie, not talk about David's mother. And then you meet the somewhat normal person in the family, Carolyn. And which, again, this was sort of the same thing with the original series. She was sort of, the normal person, the normal hot girl. So, that's another part that, while not interesting for me, here's what I found fascinating. After Carolyn greets Vicky, they're sort of trying to, get to know each other a bit. She leaves and goes have sex with her boyfriend, Joe Haskell. Now, her and Joe are intimate in this episode. And I mean intimate. They have sex. So, that's something we didn't see in the original series. Now, in the revival, you did see sex, So there was that. Now, in the 04 unaired pilot, she leaves. Joe Haskell's a native of Collinsport, like he's been in the original series and in the revival. And Carolyn is walking to her car, and she looks up because a leaf has fallen, and she keeps looking up. Now, you can clearly see there's a man standing on the branch of a tree. And I don't know if she just didn't see it. Maybe they weren't really... Again, there was no talking during this little sequence. At least none that I heard why she didn't freak out. Maybe it was her line of vision that she just didn't see it, and it was for the audience to see. I don't really know that part of it. But it's Barnabas, right? This is Barnabas. And as she's getting to her car, trying to unlock it, another leaf is falling down, and Barnabas grabs her and bites her. After and this was well after Willie releases him. Barnabas kills Willie's girlfriend. Barnabas had bitten Willie. So, again, a lot of weird stuff in this, right? It's Dark Shadows. And this is where you get a call, meet Dr. Julie Hoffman. You get a call from the hospital saying Carolyn's been attacked. And lo and behold, this is where you do meet Dr. Hoffman, which I found interesting because Dr. Hoffman, we know in the original series, Dr. Hoffman was listed as a man. but they changed her to a woman. Thank God, because they got Grayson Hall to do the character. So that's with this. You have an Asian actress playing Dr. Hoffman, which I love. You got Kelly Koo, I think is her name, or who. If I mispronounce the name, I apologize. Again, I'm not the greatest with pronunciation at times, so I do apologize. She's in Charlie's Angels. She was in X-Men 2 United. So here was this girl, this woman who very beautiful, playing a lovely looking doctor, very intelligent doctor, which I love. But right away, what I notice about her character is she's very fixated on the supernatural. Now, was the original Dr. Julie Hoffman fixated on the supernatural? I think she was more looking into the possibility it could be the supernatural. And those are things I'll say is that, she didn't jump to that conclusion, but again, sorry about this. This is, again, this Dark Shadows episode, much like the original, much like the revival, it is set in its time. So she has a lot more technology to work with. So when she receives the data back from the Carolyn that she was bitten on the neck and it's human saliva. So again, and that's something they did with the 91 revival, that it was human saliva. They messed with DNA technology and all that. So there's that. Okay? Which I like. Again, you're using the era your story is set in to sort of help you try to figure out what's going on, which I like. But again, she also has her conclusions, that her own sort of deductions that this may be a vampire, this is a supernatural creature committing these attacks. Now, whether the police believe that or not is an entire matter. We know no, they tend not to, and why should they? They're the cops. They have to think rational, right? Give me a second, guys. I'm sorry. So, sorry about that. Again, they're the cops. They have to think rational. So, in the meantime, after the hospital visit and Dr. Hoffman had human saliva, when night falls, you are introduced to Barnabas Collins. I love how they have the red sequence shots here, the portrait shot, and then him. It's really well shot and well done. I think the 04 unaired pilot has a lot of good gems. I'll get to the one bad gem I feel they were going to commit. I even like the blonde-haired Victoria Winters. But, and I stress this, they were going right back to 1795, folks. And look, I love that art, but to keep doing it and regurgitating it with any series, or potentially regurgitating, because it's not like they did it. It's not like that the 04 unaired pilot became a series and they did do 1795. That didn't happen. But just from watching this thing up and down, I could tell you it's not hard to tell they were going to 1795. Back to 1795. What are the hints, you ask? When Victoria comes to the old house and talks to Barnabas about David seeing a woman with fiery red hair, Barnabas is like, I'm sure the boy was just seeing things. And she even hands him the dagger the boy pulled out. Well, Barnabas recognizes that dagger because that's the dagger he killed Angelique with. Now, here's what's interesting. In the original series, he shoots her. He shoots Angelique, Barnabas does. With the revival, he does stab her. So they're sort of using the revival's version a little bit with this. Again, it's one unaired pilot episode. No, not even an episode. It's not canon. It's 04 unaired pilot. So, and yes, I'm going to leave a link so you guys can go watch this. After Victoria leaves, Barnabas grabs Willie. Now, here's what I find interesting because this is something we didn't really see with the revival too much, or even with the original series. Barnabas asked Willie, why did you release me? And here's what I take away from this. There was a Willie, or perhaps a Loomis, in Barnabas' time, and that was his servant or his friend. And he knew where Barnabas was buried. And maybe to Barnabas Collins, the one in the 04 on air pilot, everybody in this story is a reincarnation of everybody he ever knew. Not just Victoria's a reincarnation of Josette. And yeah, they do play to that because they show a picture of Victoria Winters looking like Josette in a portrait. So everybody to him is a reincarnation of everybody else. Elizabeth is a reincarnation of his mother. Roger's a reincarnation of his father. He feels... this is what I take away from it. Barnabas is feeling a sense of deja vu. But here's the thing. They're not all... I wouldn't believe they're all the same. Because there were differences with their character traits in the original series, in the revival. So I gotta think there would have been different character traits for the 1795 characters and these characters if they would have ever did the 1795 arc. Now, I can't say there would have been, but I that's my takeaway, that you would think there maybe could have been. We'll never know. Again, this was 04 on their pilot. I like Angelique appearing to David, tricking him, making him think it was her mother. I like Angelique, appearing to Victoria and wrecking into her and causing her to wreck, and he's mine. That was creepy. A red-haired Angelique. What would I give this? Again, one unaired pilot. I'm sorry this took so long to get up again to do. Again, I was having trouble, with the breathing, so I apologize. But the one thing I would give this, I would give it a solid 8. Excuse me. And you might say, why give it an 8? It's only an unaired pilot. Because I think there was a lot of potential. I definitely... Look, I would dare say the original Dark Shadows series was the supernatural of its time. With this was sort of... Look, Supernatural started airing in 05 with its pilot. So this was not aired, but in many ways, I feel it had some supernatural vibes to it. Now, I don't know how far they were going to go with this or how far they could have gone, because again, we just don't find that out. This never gets picked up. But I do like it. I even go back and look, I go back and watch this, and that's something I've been doing too with this. Because I really wanted to take away, what they were trying to tell me. And that's little tidbits I've picked up from watching it. Again, if you see the same thing, cool. If you don't, great, man. I will leave a link in the description box so you guys can go watch this. trying to think if there's anything I missed. Let's see. Angelique gets, Angelique tricks David. No, yep, that's there. That scene I love, by the way. He's laying in bed and he hears his name being called, and that's how. And he walks out dead of night. He sees the skull. He sees the dagger. He pulls out the dagger, and Victoria finds the dagger obviously, and gives it to Barnabas, which sorry about that. So she gives the dagger to Barnabas. And again, something I really want to focus on with this is, we know in the original series, Barnabas made it, well, had everybody have a costume and dress up like members of his family. And it's because he was trying to remind, sort of make the present feel like the past. I don't think that would have been necessary with this, because Barnabas, with this, was already looking at everybody like reincarnations of everyone else. At least that's how I view it, because again, the way he grabs Willie and talks to Willie, I think that was really telling and just really well done by the actors. So I hope I've been informative with this. Again, I just find it really interesting what they did with this. It was very, very intriguing. Even though it's not canon, it's unaired, I find it intriguing, and I hope you guys go check it out. Yes, link will be in the description box. You guys have a good night.